All right, we're back with
Where are
episode
we?
5 with Everything is a Scam podcast or Scamcast. I am back in an undisclosed location in Madrid, Spain, and my father's even in a more undisclosed location. We just came back from a great weekend trip to the Netherlands in Utrecht and Amsterdam to celebrate my birthday and just get a great experience. And I believe that Luxembourg, my brain's in Luxembourg, but the Netherlands and Luxembourg are still in the top 10 happiest countries in the world, according to World Happiness Report. Finland is still in the top number 1 position, as it has been for the last several years, at least 5 years. And I think that's a great jumping off point to talk, because we both just watched an interview that the Prime Minister of Finland gave with 60 Minutes. And she is great as always. And before I want to let you say what you want to say, I just want to say the last time that we heard about her in the media is her scandal was that people were upset that they caught her dancing at a party. Was her big scandal. And then they accused her of being on drugs. And then she said she wasn't. And then she took a drug test, and of course she didn't have any drugs in her system, and that was their bullshit scandal.
But she was drunk. She said she drinks.
So what? That's the thing. She gave it. You know what?
Like a normal person.
Right. I would rather her get drunk than do an illegal drone strike bombing on a third world nation. How's that? Okay, so can we be real here? But no, that's what she said in her interview. She's just like, hey, I'm a normal person. I'm doing what normal people do. And if anything, she should get some more time to relax, because she actually has stuff to be stressed out about and the right to relax about it. So if that's the scandal, and she didn't have drugs.
Right.
Like back in the U.S., all the people always want, like, the people on welfare to take drug tests to get the money. It's like, hey, why don't we drug test Matt Gaetz?
Right.
I'm sure that guy's up to his gills on coke.
Yeah.
Or most of those people.
Yeah.
Punk. So, I'm just like...
Santos?
Oh, God. You know what? He's so full of shit. If he took the drug test wouldn't know which drugs he were on.
Right.
He would lie about being on different drugs. Like, no, I'm not on coke, I'm on fentanyl, and then he'd tell the people I'm not on fentanyl, I'm coke, just to make more lies. So, before we move on to that, I just want to talk about the difference between, how come, I want your opinion, because you're the old man here from the 60s, or 70s technically. When would you say you're coming of age? You were in college from, 1968 to 1972?
Yeah, 68 to 72.
So that's full-on Nixon time.
Yeah.
So from seeing what you've seen then and now, how would you describe the biggest difference between what Finland and those countries get? Just like you said, you're showing a video of her. Who was she with? Who was Santa with? A bunch of
there was the other women leaders. They were all. Now can you show the clip?
I'll do what they say. I'll put it in post so they can see it. But
okay.
Yes.
So they were all young, 30-something, beautiful women.
Okay, and what do we have?
We have corpses. We have bloated corpses. We have box checkers, meaning woman, black, Indian, not lesbian, married to a Jew. What other boxes? It's like the George Santos.
Santos?
Santos? How many boxes can you click? Can you check? That's what we have.
But the point is, it doesn't matter what they identify as, because they're all shit.
Yes.
Right? Like, sure, we have like a walking corpse who I guess is better than the old bloated corpse.
Hey, look, he's gotten a lot of shit done.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is, how come we're stuck with an 80-year-old almost dead guy, and they get to have hot, young, smart, efficient, effective leaders.
You're asking me.
I mean, it's a rhetorical question. I know what my opinion.
I think it has to do with the lying mouthpieces that have captured the bad side of humanity and have promoted the bad side of humanity. Meaning, you have the Fox News, the Alex Joneses, all poisoning our pool, but unfortunately have 70 million plus followers that are hearing what they want to hear.
And I'm not just gonna, like I said, I try to be fair, call balls and strikes as I see it. And just because Fox News is bad, MSNBC is just bad in another way, because MSNBC is like the what I call the shit lib, the like upper class, upper middle class, that they don't care what's happening as long as the water and their taxes are low and they can send their kids to private school news network also. So they live in another fantasy world where Joe Biden is the best and Mayor Pete should be president. You know what I mean? So
right.
They're both just, one is more insane and one is more of a scam,
Right.
That's all. So the point I'm making for that is
how come there's no regular news?
Because it's all orange. Well, that's the point of kind of what we're doing and what they call alternative media. Like that, here's the real deal. All of those companies, Fox News and MSNBC, it's all corporate media who they all have the same, in the end, they all have the same bosses. They're just products geared to a specific audience. Fox News, all right, we're going to sell our crap to this contingent of, conservative American types. And MSNBC, we're going to market it, but it's all controlled by the same people.
Wait. I want to stop the use of the word conservative.
All right, fine. Tell me why that's a scam.
Because that is a scam. Because
tell me why.
That segment of our culture is anything but conservative. It's radical. It's crazy, nuts, not realistic, and poisonous.
Well, I only use conservative.
With conservative.
Well, none of these words mean anything anymore, especially in the American context.
That's right.
I try to explain to my friends because, put it this way. My congressional district is your congressional district. And it had like an advertisement from Pat Ryan, and it just said, "I'm fighting for you." And then somebody commented, it just said, "liberal, socialist." Two things. Those words don't really mean anything anymore. And whatever meanings that do exist, that person doesn't know what they are. So how I try to explain this to my friend who I just visited in Amsterdam is that the whole American political system is so skewed to the right. Like, here's the scam. And this has been the problem, and we can talk about this ever since McGovern. Ever since McGovern lost against Nixon, the excuse the Democrats have been to not be progressive has been that. And what really finally set off the Democratic Party from not even being progressive or liberal in the traditional sense was the Clinton administration, and they've gone more right wing. So as the Democratic Party has gotten more right wing over the years to meet the Republicans in the middle, that's just made the Republicans go even more crazy.
Right.
The way I see it, they consider Bernie Sanders to be a radical socialist, leftist, whatever you want to say it. But if he ran for office for the German parliament, he'd probably be in their like centrist party.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's the whole political spectrum is skewed to the right in the United States compared to how it would be in Europe, for example. And for example, going back to Sanna, she's in the Social Democratic Party of Finland. If you even say the word Social Democratic in the United States, I bet you most people don't even know what the hell you're even talking about. Because that term doesn't get brought up at all, let alone if you just say anything if you're a hardcore Trump supporter, anything that's to the left of Trump is a communist. Basically.
Well, they had what's her name? Nikki, the Indian.
Nikki Haley.
Yeah, what's her real name?
Let me look it up. There's no excuse not to know anything. Nikki Haley. Her birth name is Nimrata Randhawa.
Right. So that's what they should be calling her. Like they were calling Barack Hussein Obama, right?
Or remember when Ted Cruz was giving Beto O'Rourke a hard time, but his name's not even Ted Cruz.
Right.
Either.
Right.
So everyone's full of shit.
They're all full of shit. So she said, do you want the socialists?
Right.
So she's still promoting the thing that socialism means a system for society.
Well, you tell me, because you're a person with the Cold War. The way that's been programmed in American minds, especially for the boomers, you're the boomer generation, right? This is the scare tactic that these for the boomers, that anything that's considered left wing or liberal or socialist is Soviet totalitarian communism. That's how they.
But look how everything's been tied into a pretzel. Now,
that's the whole point.
The Russians aren't communists.
Right. They're just dictator assholes.
Right. They're fascists.
Without the communism. So what's the what's the point? None of this matters. And then I try to say, well, let's be like these countries. Let's be like Finland. Let's be like Denmark. Let's be like Norway. These countries aren't socialist or communist. They're just capitalists. It's capitalist systems that aren't completely fucked. That's social democracy. Regulated capitalism, a strong social safety net.
Where everyone pays taxes for the common good.
Right. And
but don't say that in America.
Right. Well, you can't even say that. You like the T word, as we'll call it. You got to call it the T word, right? Because it's basically the word tax in the United States is basically the same thing like an ethnic slur. Well, again,
right.
I'm sure we've talked about this, but why don't you bring it up again? Your famous when you first moved to Irvine, California in the early 90s and you went to the PTA meeting.
Right, at your school.
So tell us about it.
At Briarwood Elementary. And
Go ahead.
Outside in the back where they had the picnic tables, where your kids would go, I guess, have lunch outside. And it was at nighttime, and there was probably 100 to 200 parents. And it was a PTA meeting, and the principal was there. I forget his name.
Mr.
Anyway,
Cunningham, actually. Yeah, I remember.
He was there, and some of the staff, and they were talking about how they needed a new copy machine at the office in the school. And the big discussion was how are they going to raise the money to buy a new copy machine? So I was there, and they're talking about sending the kids out on the streets, door to door, to raise money to buy the copy machine. And I'm like, excuse me? How about everybody here pays a 25-cent tax and we collect the money and buy it instead of sending our kids out on the street? Well, when I said the T word, the whole place went silent. Like you could hear crickets. And it was outside. You could literally hear the crickets. And everybody looked at me, and I go like, oh. I said to myself, boy, was that the wrong thing to say in this crowd. Because after this meeting, all the moms were going to drive their Humvees down the block. They're in their assault vehicles that cost probably $900 a month for auto loans. And the father will drive the Mercedes, but they can't afford 25-cent tax.
Right. They'd rather send out their elementary school age children to go door to door to sell bullshit stuff to each other.
Right.
Like, it's such a mental, like, facade. It's like, well, we could just pay it up front instead of making our children go around to sell each other useless bullshit.
Right.
But again, then you take a step even back, then you realize that's because somebody was probably making money from selling the useless bullshit, like at a markup cost, right? Because if let's just say each family gave 25 cents or whatever, $5 even. If you just gave each family just gave $5 to buy a copier, then there's no way to scam that as much as opposed to having, what were we selling, like holiday wrapping paper or something? I think at one point we did that.
Yeah, right.
I'm just,
wrapping paper.
Yeah. It's just like, no, we want our kids to go door to door. We're going to make ourselves spend money to buy wrapping paper which nobody wants instead of just paying for a freaking copy printer machine at the elementary school.
Right. So that was also a time when the school board everywhere in America, the budgets were always being rejected by the parents or by the not the parents, by the voters. Every school budget got voted down because people didn't want to pay the amount. So the fact that this was to educate our children meant nothing.
Their own children.
Wasn't even no, like the welfare queens. There was nothing worse than if you didn't have kids, but you had to pay the school tax.
Right.
That was like the ultimate right-wing, vomitacious, diuretic problem. Is that how dare you charge me for school and I don't even have any kids?
Well, it's a thing that pops up once in a while that people, they want to privatize even the public schools that we do have. It gets mentioned. Remember?
Well, that's the charter schools,
right? Well, that's even worse. That's using taxpayer money to subsidize private schools, so it's even worse.
Right. Yes.
Again, another scam. Let's just give our taxpayer. Let's keep the public schools shit and take taxpayer money and give it to some fake corporation that's probably scamming. Oh, I just remembered all the stories about Florida charter school scams.
Yes, yes.
Oh, there's so many. I can't even go.
And Betsy DeVos, the owner of the charter schools.
Yeah, I know.
And the Secretary of Education in charge of the country's education.
So that's a good point to segue to what I was going to talk about. It's talking about why our system. So long story short, that's why the system that we have now wants us to perpetually have these bloated, literally and metaphorically corrupt, bloated leaders, because the old people, the ancient ones, as we'll call them, the Clyburn types that he receives the most from the insurance industry, medical insurance industry, right? The system likes these people.
Yes,
the show, they do well, so that's why we're never going to get a Santa type. And even AOC was the closest we had, and we both have seen how she's changed in just a few years.
She's changed, but she also promises that she doesn't take donor money.
Yeah, but it doesn't even have to be. Like I said, I keep calling it the soft corruption of the position. You get there, you go from working as a bartender to making over $100,000 a year, and all the benefits that you get from being a congressperson, and the staff, and the health insurance, and the socialist haircuts that I always reference because we actually saw it. We saw the taxpayer-subsidized hair salon that's at the Capitol building,
right?
And all the other stuff. And
it's in the tunnel, right?
Right. That's why they all have the same haircut,
right?
But you take a step back and you realize that, you could actually be a perpetually courageous fighter for everything you believe in and fail or get kicked out or be hated or die. Or, you can say your stuff say your piece, but don't wreck the boat too much. So I feel like that's our system that we have. But again, like every scandal that happens, like remember when they had caught Trump with the classified documents, then Biden, and then Pence was criticizing Biden for doing it, and then they found Pence had classified documents. But it's like, and we've come to a point where like that is even so insignificant compared to everything else that's happened.
But it's symbolic, and you know what? They should toss Obama's house, and they should toss Jimmy Carter's house.
Why not even them? Why not all these congressmen and senators? I'm sure they're all fucked.
Of course.
Also, like not even malicious, just incompetence.
Right, because there's no control on these confidential documents. And why is there no controls? It's because like the local library can manage to take care of the books they have on their shelves, but our government can't take top secret documents and record them and check them out to people?
Dad, that's the same thing. The same logic can be applied to, they're spending more than $800 billion a year in the military, but we couldn't stop a bunch of like psycho rednecks from storming the Capitol.
Right.
Like the mindlessness, it's like the cognitive dissonance, baffles the mind. Like, literally, like, the librarians can have a more orderly system than the politicians, and we're spending all this money to defend America around the world. Again, bombing countries, bombing the Middle East forever, but we couldn't stop a bunch of fucking wackos from storming the Capitol building
because they're not wackos. There are servicemen. There are police. There are firemen.
Well, they're still wackos.
But they're like everyday people.
I think there was like a person who was in the West Virginia House of Delegates or something, or the Virginia House of Delegates. He got arrested. It's just...
So what happens to them?
Nothing. They like...
Other than the guys that were there in the street smashing the windows, who's gone to jail?
And only a few of them, too.
Right.
Like the Horn guy and the Proud Boys guy.
And the guy in Pelosi's office with his feet up on the desk.
Right. But even then, I don't even think they get that much time either.
Right.
So... again, that's the whole point. It's like none of it matters because the people who probably are or were implicated or involved, they get reelected and nothing, right? Like, wasn't Matt Gaetz under investigation for like sex trafficking? Remember, they got his friend.
Yeah,
they sent his friend to jail.
His Jewish friend.
Yes, okay, go ahead and say your thing that you always want to say.
The only ones that get arrested and go to jail are Jewish people, some women, and some blacks. That's it. Which white, waspy Protestant or Catholic has gone to jail or been arrested?
At least recently?
Has Rudy been arrested?
For anything, no.
Right. So, has Matt Gaetz been arrested?
I don't think so. Here's what it says from December of last year. The ex-Florida tax collectors whose arrest led to a federal investigation into Rep. Matt Gaetz, a former friend. Former friend, sure. Yeah. That's like Trump said he didn't know who Epstein was after partying with him for 30 years.
All right.
Former friend says Joel Greenberg pleaded guilty last year to 6 charges, including sex trafficking of a minor, identity theft, stalking, wire fraud, and conspiracy to bribe a public official, and agreed to cooperate with fellow investigators as part of his plea agreement. So he probably prosecutors said Greenberg paid at least one minor to have sex with him and other men. Other men who are definitely not Matt Gaetz, wink, wink, not wink, not. he also apologized to residents of Seminole County, where he was a tax collector. Oh, God. Right. Greenberg's scandal-plagued term as Seminole County tax collector started in 2017, around the time he and Gates became friends. According to the plea agreement, Greenberg met the minor that same year on a website advertising itself where sugar daddies could find sugar babies.
So what happened to Matt Gates? Where's his case?
They investigated it, and then nothing.
Yeah.
Even though he's also been caught, like, showing pictures of, like, nude chicks he's banged on the congressional floor, supposedly.
Right. So that's the name of the game, Lee J. It's the big broad stroke. It's the fact that Katie Porter might win.
Oh, well, that's not going to happen.
You know why?
Why?
Because she's a white woman.
No, but they're still going to destroy her. They're still going to throw everything they can at her to make sure she doesn't win.
But the voters are going to vote for her. They don't want the blackies. They don't want the Jewies. They want the Katie, the white moms.
But I still think the system, like you're talking voters. I'm talking the system. They want two different things.
Right, you're right.
So you might be right. They might the voters.
That's right. It's not the voters that decide anymore. It's the gerrymandered control
and the donors. Right, like I said, I even keep saying it. I honestly think the only reason AOC won in 2018 is because nobody thought that she could win and nobody cared enough to stop her.
Right.
That's really, so this Katie Porter thing. For those of you who don't know, Katie Porter is a Orange County, California congresswoman where we used to live, where we spent my formative years as like the 90s, aka the highest point of Western civilization, as far as I'm concerned. I still say it's the 90s. Is the top, is the peak, and now it's just a gradual decline. But yes, she's a congresswoman, and she's known for basically sticking her fingers in the eyes of all these bankers and scammers in Congress. And she jumped the gun to run for Senate in California, and they shitted on her for saying, "Well, she should have waited for Dianne Feinstein to recuse or to not run again." And then Adam Schiff ran, but then nobody complained about that, of course.
Right.
And then Feinstein finally says that she's retiring, even though she immediately forgot that she said she was retiring. Did you see that clip?
Right. Yes.
She's like, I didn't say that. And then her staff was like, yeah, you did. And she's like, I did? I'm like, how old is she?
90.
I know she's been a senator since I've been in kindergarten. Since I was in kindergarten. And yeah, she's 89 years old.
Right.
And, look.
What? How old is Chuck Grassley?
I think he's around the same. Let's see, Chuck Grassley, he is... No, not whoever this is. There we go. He's also 89 years old.
Is he senile?
Probably. I know he's sent out some like questionable tweets, whether those are him or not. Does it? Yeah. So, and you wonder why things suck.
Right.
Well, these people don't even know they're alive. Hey, and I'm not even being ageist. Again, Bernie's brain works pretty well.
Right.
I'll even give credit to Chuck Schumer's brain. We met him. We met him a couple of months ago. He was able to talk and walk and shake hands and actually engage you like he had sense. He was raising his hands. Yeah. Right. So it's not just being old, but some people are old and they're old in a way that's a problem.
What about me?
I'm lucky that your brain still works.
Does it?
I mean, we're having conversations. You know who I am. We're able to have a conversation without you forgetting where you are every 5 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm not being ageist because, again, and I'm going to find that video clip. They literally used to wheelchair Strom Thurmond and Robert Byrd around.
Yes.
To vote in the Senate when Strom Thurmond was 100 years old, literally.
DJ, what's that science fiction movie?
What? Which one?
The one where they wheel a fake president out.
Is that a real thing? I don't even. It sounds like it should be a movie by now.
It was. It was like back in the them days. You know,
Wheelchair.
John Carpenter stuff.
Well, that's not what I want. I just typed movie president wheelchair, and then it ends up being a miniseries about FDR, so that didn't help. Which, by the way, that was also a scam too. Technically,
Why?
That no one knew he was disabled the whole time he was president.
How could that be?
Because it was like an agreement between, like a gentleman's agreement, as it were, back then, to not show him or not report on him being disabled for the good of the country or whatever.
Oh, you mean when JFK was banging Marilyn?
Yeah.
Nobody knew about it?
Or the Addison's disease and he had a bunch of problems, right? His back problem, was he taking medication? He was probably doped. People say he was doped up. And you know what? For some people also say that, did you hear some people think that the 1960 election was scammed for Nixon?
Yeah.
Did you ever heard about that?
No.
Well,
why? How'd they scam it?
I mean, various ways, like the mafia helped rig it. Like down in Texas, Johnson just had his scammer network scam Texas for them, basically. And whether or not that's true, and whether or not he's a scammer president and all the crap he did as president or his issues, I still give him a lot of credit for being president during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Right.
Because if it was anybody else, we'd all be dead.
Right.
Can you just imagine Nixon as president during the Cuban Missile Crisis?
We'd all have 3 eyes and 4 hands.
And then some people would say, well, if Nixon wasn't president, there wouldn't have been a Cuban Missile Crisis in the first place. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, you know what? Well, there was, and JFK was the president, and because he can, one of my favorite words in English? Nuance. There was two. Remember, everybody. The problem is everybody likes to put everything in the black and white, yes or no. It's this or that. And back then, it was like the generals were like, so either you let the Soviets into Cuba, or we invade and take them out. And then they're like, that's World War III, basically. And the generals wanted to go in, but he came up with a nuanced third option, which was the blockade. And eventually, the Soviets. Well, that's the thing. You can imagine.
Didn't he agree with Khrushchev that he would take the missiles out of Cuba and we would take the missiles out of Turkey, and that was like the way to the Khrushchev could actually do it, keeping his face. But we never took them out of Turkey.
I thought we actually did.
I don't think so.
I mean, I can look that up right now just to make sure we know what we're talking about.
And by the way, this Scamcast, Lee J, is me and you, father and son, and it's unique. The only one I've ever remember seeing was who's the guy, the short guy from Seinfeld.
What, you mean Jason Alexander?
Yeah, remember he did a
thing with his son. Yeah,
son. That's the only one I remember. Father and son.
Oh, it was the Cuban Missile Crisis that led to the famous red phone to be installed.
Right.
So, let me see.
Did you ever see the movie Failsafe?
Yeah, of course. Secret negotiations. So, I'm pretty sure that they did actually take them out. Resolution. Here we go. Oh, and Kennedy was talking to Eisenhower and Truman. Okay.
So,
well, I have to find out, but why do you think they didn't take them out?
Because they didn't have to.
I guess so. But my understanding is that they actually did. The point I wanted to make, it's actually irrelevant because, again, look what happened to both of those leaders after the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah.
They basically cooed Khrushchev.
Right.
They made him go away. And then we all know what happened to Kennedy. So it's just like, because these two weren't completely insane. And we didn't have World War III. So like, okay, let's get rid of these guys. You know? So
was that the one where the Russian sailor didn't press the button?
Let me look that up too. I think it was during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Sailor saves the world. Yes, Stanislav Petrov.
Right.
I know that was a different time. That was in looks like it was in 1983. Yeah,
okay.
September. So we're talking about building all these fucking Remember before the pandemic when people were stupid talking about Confederate statues? That was important.
Yeah.
And we need to waste our time. Like, if we're gonna have statues, it should be to that guy and Jonas Salk, the guy that developed was it penicillin? He made it for free.
That was the polio vaccine.
Polio, right? Polio. Yeah. Like, why don't we give those people vaccines? Or those people statues? God, my brain.
Why are all the American military bases named after Confederate generals?
Because everything sucks. That's why. Like I said, I'll let them have their Confederate statues if they put one Union soldier next to Confederate soldier statue in Mobile, Alabama. How about that? If it's about I don't even want to talk about it. It's such a stupid waste of our time to even have these conversations.
Yes.
So going back to what I was saying earlier, the point is the system that we have right now will never allow us to have a Santa and Friends contingent of leaders because of their youthful exuberance, energy, and actual dedication does not support the status quo system of them reaping all the freaking money.
And don't forget, she got plopped into that role because the predecessor, the guy, had to resign because he got caught. So in America, if you get caught, you don't resign.
You stay there forever.
You stay there, and even if you do get arrested, you run again and get reelected.
At least there used to be accountability, I feel. Right?
You mean back in the days of Walter Cronkite when the news was news?
Maybe even the 90s. Well, like I said, even Nixon, at least all of his cronies went to prison. I mean, the frickin' attorney general went to jail.
Oh,
right?
54 people went to jail.
That's what I mean. So even if Nixon got pardoned, at least all of his goons went to prison. Now it seems like nobody does anything. Or if it is, it's oh God, I just remembered.
Why?
So I was talking to my friend about this. Two things. I think I just saw an article that it was like the U.S. Hold on, lab leak. I think was it just a U.S. Right, Wall Street Journal news exclusive. Lab leak. COVID explanation is very likely. Yeah.
Right.
So wait. Now it's okay. Now it's okay to say that. But if you said that 3 years ago, they'd say you were racist against Chinese people.
Right.
For saying that. So talk about a scam with that. We could talk about our rant, because I was talking about that with my friend. Hold on, what does it say? U.S. Energy Department has concluded that the COVID pandemic most likely arose from a laboratory leak. Oh, really? No shit. According to classified intelligence report provided to the White House and members of Congress, the shift by the Energy Department, which previously undecided, wink, on how the virus emerged. So is this going to say anything about our friend Dr. Lieber?
No,
I doubt it.
But it will come out.
So let's just briefly go over that.
You mean the ultimate scam of the century?
I think I think that's the best way to put it. This is scam of the century. Why don't you explain what's going on? And then if you make any mistakes, I'll correct you. We had our insider scoop from years ago.
Right. So the mental health worker that we knew, her son went to Harvard.
In the chemistry department. He was like a graduate student in the chemistry department.
Right.
Yeah.
And he told his mom, and she told us about this Dr. Lieber, who was working in who had set up the Wuhan lab for the Chinese, funding to be disclosed at a later date, and that at that Wuhan lab, the Chinese Communist Party was hoping to come up with a virus that would be able to wipe out some of their population.
No, wait, hold on. Now that's speculation.
No.
Yes.
No.
That never came up.
Yes, it did.
Where?
From you.
No, that was just my theory. I never got any evidence for that.
It's a good theory.
Well, let's back, since we already started making wildest speculations, I'll at least back up with the real stuff. So long story short, the lady that we knew, her son was working at the Harvard chemistry department, and she told us that
he was the head of the department.
Not just that. He was there. He saw him get arrested.
Right.
He saw them take Dr. Lieber's by the handcuffs and drag him out of the Harvard chemistry department. Now, everybody's asking, who is this Dr. Charles Lieber? So I just want to give you guys, before we even go any further, to tell you who this guy is and what he was about. So, obviously, he was a Harvard guy. So let's just take a look what he was doing. All right. Charles M. Lieber is an American chemist. This is the key word here. A pioneer in nanoscience and nanotechnology. In 2011, Lieber was named the leading chemist in the world for the decade 2000-2010 by Reuters based on his impact of his scientific publications. He is known for his contributions to the synthesis, assembly, and characterization of nanoscale materials and nanodevices. God, this isn't even that hard. This is like right in front of our face. Look, this is the most important word here. The application of nanoelectronic devices in biology.
Right.
You mean altering diseases to infect people?
Right.
Okay.
To affect what people?
I made that part up.
No, you didn't.
It doesn't say that. Just let me finish before you make your wild speculations here. It says Lieber, because again, the point I want to make this isn't just some hack fraud guy.
He was a
this isn't
scientist.
Right. This isn't some patsy Lee Harvey Oswald loser they found and framed. Like, this guy is a known, reputable, very famous scientist. Here we go. He's a professor at Harvard University, published 400 papers and peer reviews, and has contributed to many books on nanoscience. Until 2020, and this is when it happened. This is when we found out. This is when our friend told us about her son seeing him get arrested. Until 2020, he was the chair, Department of Chemistry and Chemical Biology. And had a joint appointment in the Department of School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. He's the principal inventor of over 50 U.S. patents and applications, and joined nanotech company Nanosys. We're going to get deep on that. And as a scientific co-founder in 2001 in Vista Therapeutics. In 2012, Lieber was awarded the Wolf Prize in Chemistry in a special ceremony held at the Israeli Knesset. Oh, so the Israelis are involved too. Oh boy. Okay, so remember what we read. It was a joint funded program between the United States Department of Defense, the Chinese government, the DoD, and the French. Actually, I remember reading about that.
And
Let me continue. Let me keep reading here. In December 2021, This is when we found out. This is when our friend happened to just tell us, "Oh, my son was there when they arrested his, head of his department at the Harvard chemistry lab." Here, Dr. Lieber, or it just says Lieber, was convicted of 6 felonies, including 2. Here, this is the joke. This is the scam here. Convicted of 2 felonies, including 2 counts of making false statements to the FBI and investigators from the Department of Health. Oh, sorry, back up. That's just my brain. Department of Defense. So wait. Again, just stop it there. So why is the Department of Defense investigating this guy's seemingly nominal, completely scientific research?
Because this whole thing was a weaponization project. And that's what the Department of Defense is all about.
Right.
Poison gas? No. Let's modify viruses to target certain enemies.
Well, let me finish this before we can. And remember, this isn't a conspiracy. This isn't a lie. This isn't quack. You can find the whole thing on the internet. I remember last time we talked about this, or a couple of times. You can find his indictment on the Department of Justice website.
Right.
But here's the scam. Here's a joke. So they get him for making false statements. You mean lying? Like nobody else has lied and nobody else gets arrested for lying? Just him? Just this guy? It says to the FBI and investigators from the Department of Defense and National Institutes of Health program regarding the participation in the Chinese government's Thousands Talents program, as well as filing 4 counts of filing false tax returns. Yeah, the false tax returns you made him file to cover up the fact that he was being paid under the table to do illegal government research in the Wuhan province on behalf of the Department of Defense, China, and the French. And
you know when these facts are going to come out?
What, like 50 years from now? 25 years at least?
No.
What, when he's dead?
No. When the Republicans are investigating Fauci.
I honestly see you're still playing the game like this. I don't even think it'll come out because you know what? No one's even mentioned this at all yet, even though it's not that hard to find. You know what I mean? It's so in your face. That's the thing. They want put it this way. They want to go after Fauci because that's not a slam dunk. Because people already hate people. Again, if you're an idiot, you either immediately hate Fauci or you immediately love him. But this guy is actually direct. You connect the line very clearly, and that's why they're not going to. Because if Fauci, you can have a fake performance art congressional hearing for 2 years about Fauci, and then oh no, he's too old, he's sick now. And then he'll just get Pinochet, and then he'll be too sick to do anything, and then whatever. So here's what it says, and this is the important part. Lieber has been placed on leave from Harvard since his arrest in 2000, and as a result of his criminal charges and a lymphoma diagnosis. So, of course, he got lymphoma. Coincidentally.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
You know who else has cancer?
Tell me, give me your conspiracy stuff.
You know Jamie from the impeachments?
Yeah.
Whose son died?
Oh, what does his son die of?
Drugs. But he's got cancer.
Here,
he's lost his hair.
Let me continue here with the Dr. Lieber stuff.
Yeah.
Because again, the only reason I don't again, you're half right. Because nobody really cares. It's all just performance art. The Republicans will spend 2 years crapping on Fauci because again, he's already famous. People know who he is, and people already hate him or they love him. Blindly hate him or blindly love him. Have you heard anybody ever, anywhere, mention Dr. Lieber at all, except Tim Dillon in one of his podcasts for 5 seconds. And then he just mentioned my name. He just said there's some Harvard scientist in the Wuhan, concocting some stuff in the Wuhan lab.
So where did he find that information?
He's, what can you say? Somehow he knew, because he knows that stuff, or he did. Again, 2020 Tim Dillon is unfortunately a lot different than 2023 Tim Dillon. Unfortunately, he made too much money for his own good.
Yeah.
So let me just read this here. And so he was arrested at the end of 2020. Oh no, yeah, he was arrested. Here we go. It says he was charged in January 28th, 2020. He was charged with making false statements, making materially false, fictitious, and fraudulent statements about his links to Chinese university, the Wuhan University of Technology.
Yeah.
Okay. Completely. It was a bat soup. Completely coincidental. Just completely coincidental. Department of Justice charging document alleges two counts. Right. That's from the website. Get it right from the Department of Justice website. Here's what it says. Oh, God, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's 34 pages. But yeah, look, it says it right here. It's randomly on this page. This is some guy from Justice Departments. I also have probable cause to believe, and in fact believe, that on or about January 10th, 2019, Lieber made and caused to make a series of materially false, fictitious, and fraudulent statements to the National Institutes of Health about his involvement in the Thousand Talents Plan and his affiliation with the Wuhan University of Technology in China.
He was talking to the National what?
The National Institute of Health.
Isn't that Fauci?
Yes.
So he was talking to Fauci.
Basically, directly or indirectly. Either he talked to Fauci directly, or someone Fauci was working for or working with.
Yes.
But it just says it right there. And in this, again, that's the whole thing. This whole bullshit, like just stupid shit, like wearing a mask and getting a vaccine, all this just bullshit back and forth. Assholes coughing in old people's mouths so they get them COVID because you're an asshole. Like, has this ever been mentioned? And it's one sentence right here. Like, you think it's like all these billion-dollar media corporations can't follow up on this. Just let me read that sentence again. This is a guy from the Department of Justice indicting him. I also have probable cause to believe, and do in fact believe, that on or about January 10th, 2019, Lieber made and caused to be made a series of materially false, fictitious, and fraudulent statements to the National Institute of Health about his involvement in the Thousand Talents Plan and his affiliation with the Wuhan University of Technology. Okay. You mean the nanotech guy was working at the Wuhan University of Technology right before the pandemic happened?
He was setting up the lab.
Right.
This is before the virus got loose.
Right. They basically sent him down there to develop the lab.
Right. And why was the lab being developed?
To make biowarfare.
Okay. By the Chinese government.
No, and in conjunction with the U.S.
Right.
But nobody. They can't. Dad, do you think you could say that? And I mean, and not. Well, here's the thing. I'm so like cynical and beaten down. I think if you literally like someone came out and admit that, everyone would just be like, "Yeah,
so what?
And so what? Right? What else is new?" If it's like, of course.
Right.
But the fact that that's the reason why this is like I've literally never heard anyone talk about this guy on the mainstream news.
That's why it's the scam of the century.
But that's also why it's real. Because it's easy. Like Fauci's just like the old, like, I'm Dr. Fauci. It's like you either love him or you hate him, but it's like it's like missing the point.
Right.
On purpose. Like here's the direct point of contact where it all comes together. But no, and then we arrested him for lying about his taxes. Right?
So what's interesting now is that it's the U.S. Energy Department.
No. We keep getting confused. It's the Department of Defense.
No. The current Wall Street.
Oh, you mean that says the Department of Energy says that it's a lab leak, probably.
Right.
Which why them?
Why them?
Yeah. Let's go back to that original article. Yes, Department of Energy made its judgment with low confidence. Wink, wink. The yeah. The FBI previously came to the conclusion that the pandemic was likely the result of a lab leak in 2021 with moderate confidence, and still holds this view. So even the FBI already said this. FBI employs a cadre of microbiologists, immunologists, and other scientists supported by the National Bioforensic Analysis Center. Here, the U.S. officials declined to give details on the fresh intelligence analysis that the Energy Department to change its position. They added that while the Energy Department and FBI say that an unintended lab leak is most likely, they arrived at these conclusions for different reasons. So that's the thing. Again, what the hell do I know? Except that we had insider scoop on this guy who's basically responsible for everything, and they arrested him for lying about his taxes, which they told him to lie.
And now he has cancer.
And now he has cancer. So I think it's like unresolved, right? I think he filed for appeal, and then he got cancer.
Well, he sued Harvard,
right, for not defending, because it's like being arrested for doing what they told you to do.
Right, exactly.
They're like, hey, Lieber, we can't really show you that you're getting this money from us directly, so you need to like underreport it on your taxes. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Don't worry about it. It's like, okay. And then that's what they get you for. It's always the fucking taxes. How could they go after him for not filing his taxes right?
Right.
But not these billionaire oligarch fucks that do this every goddamn time.
Lee J, I got a copy of my 2021 taxes.
Yeah.
So there are about a half a dozen attachments that my tax guy made.
Yeah.
That I don't even understand.
Right.
So if he can file all of these reports for me, a modest guy who has a house with a tenant and expenses, and it's beyond my scope, can you imagine what it is to audit a billionaire's taxes?
Oh, well, that's part of the great, that's the scam, is that the tax code is fucked up on purpose.
Right. It makes it impossible. You know, they have 110 LLCs that the money goes through.
Right.
Offshore accounts and fake companies. And it's impossible to trace it all because it's designed with the approval of our government's Congress to make it that way.
And by the way, not just that, it's twofold. It's beneficial to the super wealthy corporations to have a convoluted, bloated, incomprehensible tax code. But not just that, as I tell everybody, it's all about the money. Who do you think is most against streamlining the tax code?
The rich.
No, well, yes, but there's I'm sure the American Association of Accountants.
Oh, yeah, right.
And TurboTax and all those fucking people.
That's a big lobby, yeah.
Right. Yeah, you think they want a streamlined tax code that makes sense? Hell no.
You mean 999?
Right. How bad is it that the 999 RIP, what's it, Herman Cain RIP, Herman Cain?
Right.
It actually makes more sense than anything else that we're doing. That's how bad it is. The 999 plan.
Yeah.
When I ever hear the 9 plan, it just makes me want to get the Domino's pizza,
right.
3 pizzas, whatever that was, right? Oh, God. So that's the reason why it's twofold. It's not just that it's beneficial to the rich and corporations to have a fucked bullshit tax code, but again, accountants, those companies, all those tax companies, they need to. You want to put them out of business?
DJ, how many Uyghurs died from COVID?
Wait.
Come on, look it up.
Before we do that, since full disclosure, before I get assassinated or poisoned to death, I'll just say that was my barely cognizant having any knowledge other than what we just told you. Again, this is just a theory. I'm not saying this is what happened, but my theory that plays like a movie. My theory is that this guy was sent down there to do biowarfare in the lab, subsidized by the American Department of Defense, Chinese government, and we read the French somewhere at one point.
Right.
The French were involved, and I guess Israel liked him too, so we'll throw them in there. My idea was that at least the Chinese angle was that they wanted to create bio-warfare weapon to basically kill Uyghurs with.
Right.
That was the intent. And
Yeah.
because it's the Chinese Communist government and no one gives a shit, they probably have very lax, security protocols.
Yeah.
So it just got locked. It just some guy walked out with it.
Right. Yeah.
And then it became a global pandemic. And again, some people think it was deliberate. Like again, that's the people like they made the virus happen so Trump would lose. Like no, you're giving everyone too much credit for that. This was just some probably intern or underpaid, lab tech forgot to put it away properly, and he walked out.
But then the Chinese Communist Party did a lockdown on the whole country.
Right.
But
yes.
I would theorize that there wasn't much of a lockdown for the Uyghurs.
Sure, that is just speculation, but at this point, I mean, prove that wrong. Yeah.
Right.
How did how was the COVID control protocol in the Uyghur camps?
Exactly.
I'm sure it wasn't that good.
Right.
Oh God. Yep. Oh.
They probably had COVID parties.
Oh. So before we make it, let me just read this since we're just going all in. This I think I'm gonna call this episode "The T Word of Dr. Lieber."
Yeah.
Sounds like a band or an album title. Anyways.
Jamie Raskin.
Wait. The T Word, Dr. Lieber and the Uyghurs.
Right.
All right, let me...
Jamie Raskin has cancer,
Here's what it says. Lieber was charged with making Department of and I'll post this link to the Department of Justice so you can read the indictment if you're bored and hate yourself. First, right? It's like 30 pages long. But it says, I just found a random sentence. It says it right there. It says it right there.
Yeah.
Wuhan. No one bothered to follow up on that. You thought it might be slightly relevant. Anyways, let me read this again. So we know about that. Lieber said he was never asked to participate in the Thousand Talents program, adding he wasn't sure how China categorized him. Department of Justice asserted that Lieber's statement was false because an intercepted email dated from June 27, 2012, from the Wuhan University of Technology, from 10 years ago.
Right.
Jesus Christ, right? Like, I've never heard anyone in the media, again, either whether you're stupid conspiracy fox or bloated corporate, no one's mentioned, it's right in your face. Ugh. All right. It said an email from June 27, 2012, included a contract for Lieber to sign. Second, in that November 2018, National Institute of Health asked Harvard University about Lieber's foreign affiliations. 2019, Harvard interviewed Lieber and then reported to the NIH and said Lieber had no formal association with the Wuhan University of Technology. The Federal Bureau of Investigation believed Lieber's statements to be false. During the arraignment, authorities executed a search warrant of his home and office, which is when they came to his office. It was when our friend's son was working there.
Yeah.
Oh, God. At the time, he was placed on paid administrative leave. On June 9th, 2020, Department of Justice alleged that in 2011, Lieber became a strategic scientist at the Wuhan University of Technology in China, and that he was a contractual participant in China's Thousand Talents plan from 2012 to 2015. A month later, Lieber was charged with 4 counts of violating tax laws by failing to report income he allegedly received by China. That's how I look at him.
Right.
That's how I look at him. The illegal funds that we paid him through Chinese intermediaries,
that
he didn't
disclose.
Right.
Because if he did disclose it,
then you have to know where the money came from.
Right.
And it would leave a paper trail.
Yep.
Ugh. It says China expressed worry that his arrest could amount to McCarthyism, cause strain between China and the United States during the Trump administration. blah, 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 blah. In March 2021, several dozen scientists, including seven Nobel Prize winners, published an open letter in support of Lieber, arguing that his prosecution by the government was unjust and misguided, and discouraging U.S. scientists from collaborating with peers in other countries. And then, of course, in spring 2021, Lieber requested that his trial be expedited because he was suffering from lymphoma.
Yeah.
Oh, coincidentally got that after he was arrested. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the X-ray machine in the cell next to where he was.
He hasn't even been sentenced yet. Look at this. This is insane. This whole time, no one's. Everything's a scam. I'm telling you, our namesake runs through.
They want him to die from cancer, and
yes, before he can. Right. Here,
because if they have a trial, it'll all be exposed.
Well, it looks like let me finish reading this. Well, no, it says his trial began December 14th, 2021 with jury selection. He pleaded not guilty to all 6 felony charges. On December 21st, he was found guilty of making 2 false statements to the government, 2 counts of filing a false tax return, income tax return, right? And 2 counts of failing to report foreign bank accounts. In a taped interview, Lieber admitted to traveling from Wuhan to Boston with bags of cash containing $50,000 and $100,000, which he said he never disclosed to the IRS. He faces up to 26 years in prison and $1 million and $2 million in fines. He will be sentenced on March 23rd. So they're waiting for him to die before they have to sentence him.
Right.
Oh, God. So, moral of the story is, sucks to be those Uyghurs, huh?
Yeah.
But this is really the scam of the century. And I bet no one's even heard of his name. And all these bullshit conversations people have about the pandemic and the vaccine and the virus and the Dr. Fauci and all that shit, no one has ever said his name.
Right.
Have you heard his name ever?
No.
But it's all
here. This report just came out.
You mean the lab leak one?
Yeah.
Though we've known.
Now, we've known it's been a lab leak for 5 years. Now, they at least have addressed that part of it.
And they won't admit all this till he's dead.
Right. The Warren report, 99 years.
Well, they still haven't released all of the documents about JFK assassination.
I know.
Even though everybody's obviously dead because it's here's the thing. This is the most.
Didn't all the witnesses die?
Yes, a bunch of witnesses died in mysterious circumstances, of course, but that's not even the point. No, here's my question: is why even say that there's still documents to be released? Why not just lie and say that there are no documents left?
Lee J, it's the scam.
But it's like this Dr. Lieber thing. It's so bad. Why do we even know this? Like,
Lee J, why haven't we heard the discussions that were put on the secret server from Trump's meeting with Putin?
Or the notes, we never got the notes because we never got the notes of that infamous Helsinki meeting. We never knew what they said to each other.
Because they're on that secret server.
And the guy who the American translator's probably in a safe house somewhere, and the Russian translator was immediately shot in the face.
Right.
Yeah. So
there's a secret server where they put all the ultimate sensitive information that nobody has access to.
Yeah, but that's like 25 scandals ago at this point. Like,
I know, but it's still there.
What happened to all the bullshit with the stolen documents? Or not stolen. He refused to give them up. It's like, and they still, we're going to have to see them run again, aren't we? 82-year-old Biden versus 78-year-old Trump. The sequel that nobody wants to see. And Trump could win again. Because why not?
Why not?
But what's worse than that is Biden's still a better choice than Kaha or Mayor Pete or anybody. Anybody that the Democrat... Here's the thing. Biden is still the best option compared to anybody else that the Democratic Party machine would allow to be run for president. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Remember in 2020, he was their candidate of last resort.
Yeah.
They tried shoving Bloomberg down our throats. Remember how pathetic that was?
Didn't Biden lose the first primaries?
Yes. He didn't win anything until it was South Carolina.
And Kaha?
Yeah. Kaha dropped out before she didn't win anything.
Right.
Bloomberg and Tulsi Gabbard, of all people, got more delegates than she did technically. So, oh my God. You know, it's the scam. Everything is a scam, as we say. So loving. Well, with that said, I think that's a great place to end. A nice belch for scam representation.
That's right.
All right. All right. We'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Next time.